And the wannabe Marxist former President Barack Hussein Obama is at it again. He is once again speaking ill of America and Americans who don't subscribe to his globalist socialist agenda. In a lengthy speech in his own hometown of Chicago, Illinois, where the poverty and violent crimes are plentiful throughout the city, the former community organizer Barack Hussein Obama took it upon himself to warn of the fragility of the American democracy, going as far as comparing today's America and her people to the rise of sentiment during Nazi Germany in the early 1930s. Obama spoke during a question-and-answer session at the Economic Club of Chicago on Tuesday, actually warned the sheep in attendance against growing Nazism in America. Barack Obama decided to invoke Godwin's law and start discussing the conditions of Nazi Germany when making a point about Donald Trump. This comes after he himself was being compared to Adolf Hitler for 8 years of his presidency, and now he's doing something considerably the same to President Trump and making horrible comparisons. In an interview with CBS, Obama suggested we could have an American genocide akin to what happened in Nazi Germany with Donald Trump as president, inferring that Trump could be responsible for millions of deaths of Americans, even though the resemblance and culture is nothing of the sort, nor even close to being remarkably similar in any fashion whatsoever. Obama was speaking to the Economic Club of Chicago when he made the caustic remark, in comments captured by Chicago business political columnist Greg Hinz. According to Hinz, Obama warned Trump's nativism and distrust of the press would cause our democracy to fall apart quickly. Obama then made the connection between Trump and Hitler, warning 60 million people died when the world became complacent. Hinz described Obama's comments as remarkable. Hyperbolic would have been a more appropriate description. Here's what Greg Hinz wrote on Twitter. He tagged President Trump and former President Obama in his message that referred to Nazi Germany. He does not shy away from calling upon Obama and noting that this is Obama's comments. In his article, he paraphrases Obama's comments directed at Trump in more detail. Still, the U.S. has survived tough times before and will again, he, Obama, noted, particularly mentioning the days of communist fighter Joseph McCarthy and former President Richard Nixon. But one reason the country survived is because it had a free press to ask questions, Obama added. Though he has problems with the media just like Trump has had, what I understood was the principle that the free press was vital. The danger is growing complacent, Obama said. We have to tend to this garden of democracy or else things could fall apart quickly. That's what happened in Germany in the 1930s, which, despite the democracy of the Weimar Republic and centuries of high-level cultural and scientific achievements, Adolf Hitler rose to dominate. Obama noted, 60 million people died. So, you've got to pay attention and vote. 1 minute the stock market is surging to record highs and the next minute 60 million people are getting killed. There doesn't seem to be a moderate approach to this when it comes to some people who fail to recognize the accomplishments that have been achieved during Trump's first year in the White House. Given that the left has been wrong in many facets during Trump's political career, from him declaring his candidacy and winning the primaries and election, to the aftermath of his victory, we can only take Obama's comments with a grain of salt. Does this mean Obama is unhappy with, or jealous of, the success that President Trump is having in his first year? Many people believe the world was more dangerous when Obama left office than when Trump took office. It's not even that hard to prove. Just look at the rise of ISIS, various attacks across the world, or the quadrupling of the Taliban's membership during Obama's presidency. Trump's answer to the rising resistance from ISIS was to quadruple airstrikes against ISIS forces. In just months he shattered the group alongside an international coalition that also deserves credit, of course. Perhaps Obama's Nobel Peace Prize has gone to his head and now he's saying things that make it seem like America is on the brink of becoming a genocidal nation, but that couldn't be less true. Did Obama win the Nobel Peace Prize because of his name not being George W. Bush? And for someone who won an award that references peace, Is talking about American genocide anyway to be a reflection of that award? Many think not. The has-been went on to compare today's America to Germany in the 1930s where, despite a long history of high-level cultural and scientific achievements, and a thriving democracy, Adolf Hitler was able to rise to power. He also added that because 11 million people died, then you have to pay attention and vote. What he really meant to say is you have to vote for the globalist scumbags so they can turn America into a third world cesspool in order to make it fair for the rest of the world's nations. Barry Soetoro didn't have the guts to mention President Donald Trump by name, but most in attendance believed his comments were aimed at the current U.S. president and his Make America Great Again rhetoric, which globalists argue has fueled nationalism and spoiled their own plans to bring America down. Please share if you think it's time for former President Barack Hussein Obama to retire back to the cesspool he came from in Chicago.